Good morning, everybody. Time now for Around the County with Nelson County Judge-Executive Tim Huthchins, made possible by Joe Hill's Power Sports and Automotive. And this is show 2, week 2, with Judge-Executive Tim Huthchins. And Judge, welcome back in.
Hello, Roth. How you doing this morning?
Well, we are outside of the snow and the slush, but as you mentioned, roadways are still bad shape, but they'll get better if the temperature goes up.
Yeah, they're not too bad. I drove in and drove around some roads, and they're melting off pretty quick. And of course, when the plows, state or the county and city plows hit them, I mean, it's pretty much slush. And I don't think they're putting any salt out, which is good news, so it saves us some money because the temperatures are rising up pretty quick. So overall, the roads are, I think, pretty good shape, really. Now, there was a accident on New Haven Road that blocked the traffic, and then we just had a bad one over on 150, and there's a fatality there. I don't think they've released any names yet. It's down there close to, I think, where Potter Shop maybe intersects.
Between the loops.
Between the loops. Yeah. So you're already informed on it?
Yes, sir. Yes, the police and highway state transportation people have all been on that. So
yes,
we'll have if there are any details coming up.
Yeah, that's not good. One thing I want to put out today early is we've had a few calls in the office about garbage, and because I haven't talked to the city, but I've seen their trucks going around, and countywide garbage is being picked up today just on a normal schedule. They may be a little slower because of the snow, but they are on schedule. Just let everybody know that. And then the other thing I didn't get back, I was at a judge's conference for, 2 or 3 days last week, and had some pretty good discussions, and Miss Durbin called in last week. I haven't got her a final answer yet on the hospice. Mm-hmm. And then Jamie Mattingly, I've got to set up a meeting with him. Matter of fact, I'll probably do that Wednesday or Thursday, just the two people that had some questions I couldn't answer. So that's letting you know that today. So we're moving forward with those two. And then after our radio show last week and our fiscal court meeting, and it's been in the news and I think the media, that we will be picking up limbs, so people can get the limbs and trees cut up and get them out next to the right-of-ways, the edges of the road, or the county can pick them up during the bucket item pickup. Mm-hmm. Then go on our site. I don't think I brought that card. I did bring the card, actually. The bucket item schedule, and it's on the fiscal court Facebook and website. I think it all is, and it kind of lets everybody know when they need to get their, try to separate the tires and what we call maybe junk or somebody else's, maybe not junk, and then we'll put the limbs and stuff separate in 3 different groups, piles, whatever you want to call it. That'd be very helpful with our crew. So I want to reiterate that because this thing will get started pretty quick. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. So you've got the number at Roth if anybody wants to call.
3, 4. Mm-hmm. And we do have a caller online right now, so we'll need to go to
a caller already. You want to give that number out?
Yes, sir. You can call or text 502-348-2222, and we will take your calls and text. Matter of fact, I've got one text up there right now, okay? So, we're getting ready to go.
Static here again. I don't know what to. Let me get this wire pulled around.
Okay.
It's better.
All righty. And here we go. From the Cox's Creek area, Christy's on the phone with us. Good morning.
Sound like I'm a little loud. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm a little loud on my end. I'm hearing myself too much. If you can dial her down some. Okay.
Christy, go ahead.
Hi, good morning. I was calling. The county has been looking great, and there seems to be a push to clean it up. But I was following up with what are your plans with the nuisance order concerning homes that have issues that are safety and health concerns in the area?
And basically junk and trash and rats and rodents and weeds and all the above. So
there's a few out here in Cox's Creek for sure.
Yeah, and I'm pretty much aware of most of them. I have driven the county myself. So when I got elected, the code enforcement office, we've had one individual that was working there, and he had some health problems, and he was off for several months. And then I brought on a part-time gentleman that helped us for probably 6 months. And I think if I'm right, I had 113 on my desk complaints since the day I got there. And that's been, like, say, over a year ago. Now, he's went out and did several, and the other gentleman did, and he's gone. I had brought another part-time guy in, and now he's gone. But since then, about 3 or 4 months ago, I've hired 2 guys that have done a really good job. We sat down and reorganized that department, and I've got the Vanessa at the code enforcement side. She's managing that now. They're putting it all in a computer on a spreadsheet. So as we speak, basically, and we're driving, not only taking complaints, I've got these gentlemen driving and looking, and our goal now is, I think I've got it in a pretty good shape, and we've sent out a lot of letters, and we'll be sending out a lot more. Now, most people, I'm going to say 75% of them usually will work with you and get it done. You got about another 10-15% that you have to follow up with and push a little bit. Then you got about another 10% that you may have to end up in the court, and that's when it gets slow, very slow. So I feel real good about it. I think this year you'll see a lot of progress, because that was one of my main goals when I got elected, and I said it on this show, on the Brooks show, that people need to be aware. We're doing the bulky item now, so the time is get your places cleaned up, put them out on the road, and let us help you get it done. And a lot of people don't have the means of trucks or ways to remove things, and so the time now is to get it cleaned up and get it out on the right of way, so we can help you get it cleaned up. And then if they don't, then we'll be these 2 gentlemen will be I'll give them authority. They're going to be pretty aggressive. So Judge, that's where we're at.
If somebody sees this in their neighborhood or anywhere else where they think it could be a health issue and safety issue, who do they contact?
They call my office, 348-1800, and they'll transfer them over to the right person.
Okay.
Get the paperwork done. And one thing I want to be real clear is most in the past there was a form that had to be filled out, and I eliminated that form, so nobody knows. Even these 2 gentlemen don't know if somebody calls in with the complaint. Okay. That name, so it won't be on open records. We do not. It won't be. Nobody knows who called and complained.
Anonymous. Great.
It's anonymous. That's right. So that's where we're at.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Christy. Phone number is 502-348-2222 for text and phone calls, and we got Ryan.
You said you had a text.
Judge, a text very quickly, then we'll let you take off. It says, what is being built beside Dean Watts Park? And
I'm assuming if they're talking about there's a piece of land when you go up Spencer Manny Lane off 245 on that side. There's I think this is a private deal, but it's land owned by, I think it's Revelations, and it's either Hayden Steel or Hayden Bridge. Hayden Steel, I think, bought a tract there that's parallels the park.
That's their property. Okay.
And they're going to build a warehouse, is what I understand. But the county's not involved in that. So that's Hayden, I believe it's Hayden Steel.
Yep. Okay.
And actually, I met with them. I don't know if they fulfilled their contract or it's a done deal, but I'm trying to get an entrance through Watts Park. We're trying to in the process of designing more baseball fields there. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I talked about that last week or not, but it's.
Don't think so. No.
We're actually started out. I've got my 2 engineers, and we've got a committee established trying to upgrade our baseball, softball, t-ball complex because we're out of room. You know, it's been going, I guess, since when I was a magistrate, and that fiscal court bought that land and developed that park. So the baseball and softball complex. To give you an example, I think there was 19 T-ball teams last year, and I only had one field to use. I've kind of reorganized that out there a little bit. We've got Tyler Wimpsett is managing it, and of course he's.
Is there land there for?
There is
Okay.
the football complex. Over the last few years, they moved all the football to the high schools.
Okay.
Little league and everything is tied in with their high school, so they're not using those fields any longer. So, and when you go in and develop this park, we're looking at, I think there's 6 more baseball and softball field complex, and then we got to upgrade the other ones that are there, and they, over time you just need dirt and field and all that. So, this is a multi-million-dollar project. I mean, once we get it designed and the cost, and then we'll have to go out and see how we're going to pay for it through some grants and hopefully sponsors and so on. But that's a huge. It's a big project. It costs a lot of money to get in the lights and some artificial turf and probably some of them, and you bring all these tournaments in, it generates a lot of traffic, and it really helps tourism, and then you have a lot of our local teams that now, it's a growing thing that most of the, because I coached for many, many years in basketball, and as you see, my daughter's in volleyball and all my kids, but as you see now, more and more of these, what they call the AAU type teams, travel teams, elite teams, and I'm going to be probably out on a limb here, but I'm going to say over 50% of our kids are participating in these travel teams. So the more home fields that we can have and things locally, it really helps our local children have to travel so far. So it's really a big deal for the community, and we're working on that, and we have to trying to build a bigger parking lot when we do this, and it's just another thing that we need to try to push forward, and that's what we're working on now, and hopefully we'll have a design done this year or earlier in the year, trying to get some, so we know what numbers where we have to go after.
Judge, has there been any more revelations or any more regarding the HVAC and the visitor center?
Well, yes, it has. I've met with, and I've had my engineer, Brad Spalding, meet with, because Music Construction was the only bidder on that particular job, and I have met with Brad Spalding and one of the HVAC contractors and try to figure out a way where we can cut cost, and then he's met with some other contractors that's under the Music Construction and meeting with those guys, and hopefully that we know we can save some money there, trying to see what we can do. But I hope in another week, probably 2 weeks, I'll have a final number to see if we can either do it or, well, it's all fell apart. We got to do something. You know, the heat, it's just not working. So eventually, I don't know, it's hard to Band-Aid it anymore. All the Band-Aids fell off. So we've got a few other options, but not too many. So, but we are working toward that.
Okay.
And the bid came in at $1.1 million. I think I told you that last week, not counting the remodel downstairs that the tourist commissions want to, that they've agreed to do some stuff on their own. So hopefully we can get that project done. It's costs, like everything else, costs a lot of money. So, but one of the things I was going to tell you about this baseball complex. You don't have any more calls yet or text?
Nope.
The sports complex there, the city is doing their aquatic center, and it's involved in that. They've got, I think it's 3 gymnasiums, and which will create 6 volleyball courts, and of course a lot of pickleball courts. And their planogram, which I've seen, they've showed that to everybody, and I think the mayor said they're going to start probably working on that project summer, maybe in this late spring or summer. And part of that is when you get to the sports side, when I was talking about these tournaments, they can draw and have volleyball tournaments and some basketball tournaments and things inside for our local people, not just travel. So the Dean Watts Park out there is, like I said, we just outgrown it. And what we do, we had, I think, if I can remember right, when when I was on the court with Dean, and we bonded out some money there, and I think it was a 10-year spread to start that park, and which has turned out really, really good. A lot of activity, and some people ask me all the time, why can't we do this like Bowling Green or E-Town? And my answer is we've got one of the nicest parks in the state, to be quite honest about it. There's 120 counties. And when you look and travel like I have, there's some that what I call that's more elite, maybe like Bowling Green and E-Town. And I think our goal is try to achieve that number, but it takes a lot of money. And I've got some revenue ways we can do that. I'll bring up later. Some revenue streams that we can do that won't cost the local taxpayers any money. And I'll be announcing that as we get this project moving forward. So there's, my old saying, I told the magistrates, do we want to stand still and stay where we are the last 30 years, or do we want to grow and try to enhance and provide more things for the community, which you hear a lot of. There's nothing to do for the teenage group. You hear it and hear it and hear it. Excuse me. So with that being said, we know that the demand for the athletics at the park is a big thing. We know that for a fact, and there's a big need for that. Secondly, what the mayor and the city council is doing, there's probably a little bit of debate about the people out in the rural areas. I support it. I think it's a big need for the community, the pool and all that now. The overhead and the maintenance of it, that's under the city's umbrella. And I feel pretty comfortable that they've got a plan that they can pay for it, and it works out, and there's a lot of, everybody is in the county. You hear that debate. I've heard that debate over the years, or discussions, well, this is the city and that's the county. This is the city and that's county. Well, in fact, everybody is under the county. Everybody lives in Nelson County. Don't care what city you're in. So I support that as much as we can. I know the financing side of it. I've talked to the mayor briefly about a few things that we can maybe be able to do, and once they get that built, and they'd have to share. I don't want to interfere with their numbers. They've talked about how they're raising money. I think they've raised, $4 or $5 million private money, and they had some money in escrow, and then they're going to bond out some of it, and the maintenance of it is, I think, their fear and our fear, most people, is after you get it built and paid for, it's a tremendous amount of maintenance. So we got to have the activities, and there's going to be some fees, but it's under their umbrella. But I think it's a good thing to provide for the community. There's no doubt in my mind.
I mean, the community's been asking for it. It's never been a poll, but there has been some unscientific polls or questionnaires that have gone out over the 15 years I've been here.
Well, they've done a poll. The city has done, the county, I think, back when I was a magistrate, there was one, and I'll be point blank about it. I probably helped kill it back in the day because they wanted to work with the YMCA. And the YMCA, in my opinion, is a great thing, but they're top heavy. And a lot of the money goes to the big salaries and the people at the top level. And when I was involved in that, and when they tried that study back there several years back, I didn't support it. Since I was off the court, I think they had another one and it didn't fly. Now, according to the mayor, I think they've done a lot of studies and they're showing and proving the numbers. How accurate are the studies? I don't know, but I feel like they've done a pretty good job of proving that it's a pretty good need for the community. I've heard a lot of people said we need it and want it. But again, it's how you going to pay for it.
Yeah.
They've got a master plan. I feel confident that they get it worked out, and then if we can, on the county's end, if we can enhance and expand our park there for all these families and kids on our end, and then fast forward with that, getting more calls.
Nope.
I'll expand on this a little bit more with I wanted to get into this. I met with, anyway, you heard me announce about 6 months inside. I've been in 2 years, and I started looking and thinking about, even before I got elected, about our fairgrounds. There's 73 acres out there that's pretty well underused in the fair board, and they've really done a good job about the fair, and they have some events and tractor pulls and rodeos throughout the year. And they've done a good job with what they've got and the resources that they have. So I want to make sure I'm clear on that. And then trying to figure out a way to have more events for the community. So I started the Fairgrounds Committee and explained to them my vision and my plan, what I'd like to see. We had a lot of positive responses. We went and visited, I think, 3 sites. It's got the big arenas, and we've got contacts with a lot of different organizations. Some people don't realize it, but there's a lot of people out there that do different things, like the beef shows, cattle shows, horse shows, more tractor pulls. We have to have a bigger, longer, I think it's got to be 330 feet long to have an indoor tractor pull. And then you get into, there's all kinds, I mean, the chicken shows, you know, I think I told y'all before, I raised, it's a hobby of mine, doves and pigeons and all that. And so you go to some of these places around in fairgrounds and around, I mean, it's so crowded. You just wouldn't believe the people when you start pulling them in from all parts of the country that travel, and that's what they do. They love it. And then you get into the goat shows, the sheep shows, you can go on and on and on and on. And then you go to some of these other communities we found out where they have these big auctions come in. And there's all kinds of opportunities that it would really, I think, based on what I've seen, talking to a lot of people, it helps. You got to have the place to have this for your locals to come in and use it and utilize it instead of traveling. Everybody don't want to travel everywhere. They can do it locally. So that would give us
travel here.
And you get other people travel here, and that's where it helps the hotels and the restaurants when you get into tourism and that side of it. So I've kind of got a master plan. So I've really started this pretty heavy, and then I've had I guess about 2 or 3 months in that, so the Nelson County school system contacted me and was interested in developing an agri-science center while we're doing this. That's been probably 6 months ago. Since then, I met with them yesterday. I've got all 3 school systems in the county, which is very unusual. You get 3 working together. I met with Jonathan Shell, our Agri Commissioner, last week. I've got him interested in this, and he is really hitting the ground running, and some of the things he wants to do for the communities and provide agriculture type things for the communities, and he's really big into that, teaching kids how to raise gardens and raised gardens and greenhouses and fires and hanging baskets and just on and on and on. So I've had a meeting set up probably in a couple of weeks with him. I'm probably getting ahead of the game a little bit. I met with the superintendents and all 3 high school systems yesterday. I've got a gentleman that I want to get under contract. I've told the fiscal court about this briefly. I've talked to the BIDC, Industrial Development Corporation, about some of this. And we announced it when they had the Up Center Foundation fundraiser a couple months ago. We had a kind of a diagram, and it's a beautiful layout. But again, at the end of the day, it's going to take a lot of money. So I met with Rocky Atkins, which is, I guess he's the governor's chief of staff, basically, and the state economic director, and then with Jonathan Shell on the ag side, and then all 3 schools. If we can pull this thing off, it'd be the only one in the state of Kentucky that's done this, and it's a model that they would use because they're big on regionalizing. Basically, it's all they talked about last week when I was up there, is regionalizing more and more and more. So opportunities there. It would really offer a lot of things for the locals and bring in enough money from the outside people to help pay for this thing. So it's be a big deal.
What's the acreage of fairgrounds?
73 acres.
73. Mm-hmm. And of Dean Watts Park,
I think it's close to 70 acres also, 60 something maybe total. Okay. There's it's just outgrown out there. I think we had the second, according to Tyler last year, we had the second highest activity in the baseball complex in the state of Kentucky. We're approaching about almost 1,000 kids, and we don't have any room. We'll have to start turning people away. When you start turning families away and said, you can't play, well, that's not a good thing. But man, you get into this stuff, it's so expensive, and you got to put these lights up, and they've got to meet all the criteria about the high winds and so on these big, powerful lights. And I remember before when the fiscal court, we went out there and helped them with some lighting and things in the previous courts, and so traffic's pretty tough getting in and out of there. So we're developing a master plan, and I think it's going to be a nice plan. And when we get down to the end of it, again, how you going to pay for it?
And as you mentioned,
That's where-
ongoing costs also.
Yeah.
There's the initial cost, and then there's the operation costs. Judge, we did have someone text in, and we talked a little bit about the cleanup. They wanted to know the schedule to be in Boston. I believe that's right. And
Can you read his little map? I don't know if I can read it or not.
I think I can figure out where Boston is.
The south end, it goes from 49 down 31, New Hope, Town. But Boston actually is on the front end. You start at the top and come down. February 24th is when it begins, and then we go up the Louisville Road, north of the Bluegrass Parkway. And then we come back around to 62 and then come through Boston. So that starts February the 24th. So I would encourage you to get everything out. Then we move into phase 2 on March the 10th. Well, depends on how heavy it is. We may have to, I've talked to Brad about it, if we decide we need to contract another truck or two to help us because of the limbs, that we could be delayed a little bit. And it depends on the weather and the snow and all that stuff. So phase 1, phase 1 and 2 starts February the 24th. So I'm going to encourage everybody to really get on it now because we don't want to be too late. And you can go on our website and then they can go on the Nelson County Facebook, Fiscal Court Facebook page, and I think its map should be on there. I'm pretty sure it is.
The person said they didn't receive one in the mail, so just had a text also. The gentleman said he'd just come out of a meeting and basically asked if exactly what you were just talking about, the Fairgrounds Agri-Science Center project, and if there's a timeline for it or...
My hope, I'll say I had a big meeting yesterday with some of the main players. I've got a commitment from all 3 schools that want to do this. I'm going to meet with Stacy at the Tourism. We briefly have discussed this in the past, try to get them involved, because I would love to get part of this with the Wickland ground. Through the tourism side, and they can enhance and start it. We call it an agri-science center, and then we want to do an agri-tourism center and tie it in with this fairgrounds complex. And then you pull Wickland in where you can grow some crops, because then you kind of tie into the bourbon industry. You got people that's traveling here and they want to see, well, how do you have bourbon? Well, you got to have corn and wheat and barley and rye, and so people want to see that. And it's just it's kind of another piece of that puzzle that I think we can enhance that maybe we're missing out on. And, I raised tobacco all my life, but most people don't even know what tobacco looks like. And so you got a group of people that they can target is through the tourism side. That'd be another piece that they can visit and see some of this and how it's done in the process. So it's pretty much a global type thing. The answer to that question, now we're at the level that I'm going to try to bring somebody on contract to help us push this project, because I don't have the time, my staff don't have the time, and I'm going to try to create a bigger board and then pull it back down to a little small committee to get people involved and get their views and ideas, and that's pretty much our next step. And like I say, when I get the state involved, our goal here is to get this thing like a master plan and some drawings and everything by, let's say, July, August. And then at that point, we'll start meeting heavier with the state and hopefully we can get some financing on their end at the next session, which, starts in January of next year. And that's when they do the budget session side of it, and there's some opportunities there, because when we do these universal and global things, and it's a model that we're trying to do, it's really got a lot of interest from pretty much every department. And there's a lot to do there. We don't have a sewer line. The city sewer line does not go under the Bluegrass Parkway. And I've already met with the mayor and his staff. They're trying to upgrade one of their pump stations. I forget what they call it. It would be right before you go to the Bluegrass Parkway, kind of behind Hillbilly Heaven. And we want to make sure they upgrade that we can still get with the fairgrounds and some private private owners of some land over there that they would, because Bluegrass Parkway's right there, and the land right there beside it is pretty valuable, extremely valuable. So trying to work a public-private partnership on helping create and build that sewer line over there that would open up the fairgrounds and some other properties there, and then potentially as you go a little bit south, the need for homes that you see all over there. We need more homes statewide, actually all over the country, but there's not enough homes being built for people, so that would open up that avenue too. So it's a big deal, really. If you would really get down to it, it's a big deal. So it's something that I think is going to be very positive, and it's all I've heard is positive feedback so far, and I'm very excited about it. It's just taking the time to do it. It just takes so much time for all these projects. Because the baseball side of it, that we're trying to do at Dean Watts Park, and then this, and then we're always looking at industrial sites and trying to find some more land for the industrial sites coming in, because we've only got one track left in our industrial park out there off of by Flyers Food. There's another little small track on the other end by Woodline Road, but there's about 30 acres left in behind Flyers Food and Takigawa, right in that area, that we've got a grant to build a road and infrastructure to that for about $1.2 million. Actually, we took bids. We sent out advertisement for bids on that. So that we'll probably open those, I think it's next week, so we can start getting them built in. So there's a 30 acre tract that we've had some interest in a little bit, but once we get this thing opened up, we feel like that thing could be sold, fairly quick. Mm-hmm. When that happens, there's no more industrial land left, zone I1 or I2 that I'm aware of, and that's what we're working on in the BIDC. And according to them, they've been looking and searching for the last 5, 6, 7 years. And when I did come on board, and after I got my feet wet a little bit, the BIDC, all that land was covered in trees, and I asked them, and they agreed to it. We went in and cleared that land, because you're not going to sell any land to anybody that's got a bunch of trees on it. Not to say I love trees, but there's places where they got to be. So we've cleared that land and trying to prep it and getting it ready for another industrial site. So I think you'll see some activity there pretty quick.
Judge, I call it the extension of a bypass that's under construction right now. Will that open up any opportunities for industrial sites or residential?
No, that's not designed for that. It's designed to just move traffic. There would be no sites on that little inner bypass for any industrial that I'm aware of. Matter of fact, I'd pretty much encourage it not to be, because it's not. If you look at the pattern, the way it's laid out, it's not laid out for that.
Okay.
And you can't, and the access, they don't want to. It's limited access highway.
Okay.
And they don't really, as you see when it comes through it. But they are moving on that thing. It's amazing how fast they've done that in some of this weather, really, to be honest about it.
Yeah. Anybody wants to see the route, you have, there's a big map with it laid out on a map upstairs in the visitor center by your offices.
Yeah.
I had really no comprehension of where it started, where it ended, and one day I was upstairs and saw the map and spent a little time perusing it.
Yeah, I don't know if I still got that map. I still got the map, but it's not posted up on the wall, because we've kind of cleaned that courtroom up and remodeled a little bit and changed some of those. It's not stuck up on the board right now.
Okay.
But they can go on the site and it's access to it. Like I say, hey, you can drive it now and just go down 245 or go back over Boston. You can, where the crow flies, you can kind of see it pretty clear. It'll help traffic. I don't think it's going to solve all the problems by no means, but it definitely will help somewhat. And, when you're talking about the bypass, we're working on what we call the northern, what I call the big bypass. And I met with Senator Higdon and, of course, Candy right when I first got elected. And and then with the state, Brad Bottoms and the state and the Lincoln Trail Ad District, and we've got kind of fast track some of those projects. They moved 245 up, and then there's a design money in already. And as a matter of fact, I think they've already started the design on the northern bypass, which goes from somewhere around Thomas Nelson north toward Copses Creek. And that pattern, it's pretty much laid out now. It's nothing set in stone, but they're doing the design on that now, and we're trying to get that fast tracked. That would be beneficial as far as more traffic. And if you look at the map, the big picture, it runs all the way to Boston. And then if you really look at it, it ties all the way down the Bluegrass Parkway. And then you go north, you could come across and tie to Bluegrass. Then you would have a true roundabout in the county as far as helping traffic. So, but it's a lot of money. I think the total project cost estimated was, I forget how many millions it was. I don't want to say something wrong, but it's a lot of money, and everybody's got their hand out. But that being said, I went to the judges conference last week, and Commissioner, I met with her and Bobby Joe Lewis. We have submitted trying to get to, I think there's three county bridges that we're trying to get. They got a new program out, and we submitted, and so me and her had a pretty good talk, and she called me the day after coming home, and we got awarded and I'll give Adam Wheatley credit, he went with me, Magistrate Wheatley, and because it's in his district, a bridge out there off the old Woodlawn side. They call it Woodlawn Road. It's not the Poplar Flat side, but I think that bridge is 300 and I forget the total number now, but maybe Brad Spalding called me or texted me, see how much it was. I think it's $380,000.
I
Did you see
the
it?
press release went out yesterday afternoon on that.
Did you see it? I didn't see a press release on it, but it was up. It's county can't afford that. I mean, there's no way. So, Bobby Joe Lewis, me and her, we always had a good relationship. I've met with her many times, and then of course Rocky Atkins up there, and so she called me. I told her, I said, and we've been awarded quite a bit of money on the blacktop too. The first terms, or first year and second year, and we're working towards that. We've got two more. There's one more bridge, and I don't want to give any names out till we get the money, but we think we'll get one more. And it's a good deal that the governor and legislature's worked that program out for the counties, because there's no way, shape, or form that we could afford to do those, and you're limited on your resources. So that's a big announcement. And when you have those good rapport with all the leadership up there, and I think I've tried to help develop that in the magistrates over the last 2 years for sure, and we've got a pretty good relationship with them, and that makes it very important to help and bring in some money, state money, back to the county. They've been very good to us on blacktop the last 2 years, but as you know, there's a lot of road out there that we got to take care of on the county side.
I'll read the question from the text, and it says, how much of the $1.9 trillion from the American Rescue Plan under the Biden administration did Bardstown receive? And I'm assuming they mean Bardstown, Nelson County.
Well, the ARPA funds, some of that happened before I got on, and I can't give a direct answer on it, but I think it was, if I remember, it's probably in the 20-something million range total, and I don't know exactly if the city got any upgrades on their sewer plants, probably too. But and I said this when I was running the campaigning, that DeMott's and Mayor Heaton, City Council, and Fiscal Court in North Nelson Water District. That's one of probably the best projects that's ever happened in this kind of history. When you get that line built all the way and get a little water out here, and I think they can get up to 3 million gallons a day. And they're started working on that. The bids came in, but part of that money that whoever's talking about this was part of that ARPA funding, which is that piece of it is over 10, 11, 12 million. So then you got the other phase that came in up here by basically where Phil Hoagland's funeral home is. They come across and hit like where Tire is, and they got to upgrade some other lines to help. Matter of fact, they're working right here by our courthouse. If you notice where they took that line all the way out of Springfield Road, they're still working on that, and that was part of that money, I think. That's a city project, of course, and they're running that line all the way out close to where the industrial park is now, and then that's going to enhance the water and the pressure, all that in the Woodlawn area, and they're going to build another tank out there. So So I'm giving a direct answer. I can't give a direct answer, but I think it's $20-something million.
And those funds are all spent now?
They're not all spent, but they have been committed, okay. And a lot of that is in. Well, some of that was in some. Well, actually, quite a bit of it. So when I came in, I didn't realize how many people didn't have city water out throughout the county. A lot more than you anticipate. And I don't have the list of those roads, but I will bring them back. There's probably 5 or 6, 7 county roads. There's some private roads. I worked out a deal with the magistrates to get some private road money with the water. And then Hurricane Hills was a big one, a huge one. I had to put a lot of time, my people and myself, working to get that project done. And I know Robert Taylor Road, and there's just a bunch of roads that you wouldn't realize that did not have city water. Then you got the private roads. There's always been a commitment, and I would agree to that too in the past, that the county don't have the resources. We try to help get the water and work with the cities in North Nelson and Marion County Water and all of them to provide it for the citizens, and we've done that. So there's a lot being built and a lot to be built yet.
Judge, text says we miss seeing your monthly updates on social media. When will that begin then?
Well, my answer to that is I'm trying to update everything with Mr. Roth here, and he's weekly. He's weekly. We're not doing monthly. We're doing weekly. But I will bring that back. I have been extremely busy in trying to manage that and keep up with it all. It's almost been impossible, to be kind of honest. But I will start that back up and get that. What I'm going to do pretty soon is I've had my 2-year. I've been in 2 years, and my next one will be a 2-year spread of what we have done and what we have accomplished and what the fiscal court has accomplished, and then a piece of that to see what our projected goals would be over the next 2 years. And I'm actually working on that. That's going to be my next, I guess I'll say, press release, let everybody know where we're at, and so that's kind of an answer to the question. So the weekly updates will be here. So if you need it, anybody wants to hear or know anything, a lot of people don't want to get on the air, but they can text. Would you say at 348-2222? Ask any questions that you want. I'm trying to be as transparent as anybody, and that's the reason I'm doing this. And again, those monthly updates, we put that. I told you about this before. We started that about 6 months ago. We finally got it defined pretty good. And I put that packet out every month, the second meeting of every month, from every department I think there's 20-something departments, not even the ones under the fiscal court umbrella. And it gives all the detail, everything's going on in their office for the month, and the permits or, like say even Diane, but Diane Thompson's not directly under us, and she puts out a report, and you got Jeanette and the jail, and a lot of the stuff that they used to talk about at the fiscal court, and I tried to I did bring it all up. The first few meetings, we had those long meetings, and as time went on, we're trying to get this thing defined, and it's really worked out well. So if there's any unanswered questions in that report every month, anybody thinks we're not transparent, I'd like to know what it is. But I'm telling you right now, we're putting everything out, and it takes a lot of time and energy to put those reports together. So we've got to watch, again, like I say, the cost of the county, everything's going up. We've got to really watch our money. Cash flow can get pretty tight, and you got to be real careful there. We know even we think we met yesterday is the bourbon barrel tax. We may not have hit our target even this year. For some reasons, we're looking into that. There's been some challenges on some of through the state. We don't know the whole story yet, but we don't know if we're going to hit our budget numbers there, so all that can make an impact. But you take the general fund, and you got the ambulance EMS fund, you've got the dispatch, and like I say, we added another ambulance. We put another dispatcher on, trying to get all these trying to separate our funding where everybody will stand on their own feet. But at the end of the day, the general fund has to come back and make sure that it's all working, and we don't have a bunch of fluff laying around, that's for sure.
Judge, when you were talking the parks and the department, but the physical part of it, and you mentioned Elizabethtown and Bowling Green, two towns that I've lived in. And in Elizabethtown, I was there when they had to basically increased their restaurant tax, their tourism tax, and utilized that money, not all of it, but a lot of it, to actually bond and do their sports park there. And it paid off, and in a sense it's paid off, and now they're using some of that money for a huge amphitheater. But there was additional funding for that project that came about, and it wasn't happy. Not everybody was happy about it, especially the restaurant industry when they were told their franchise tax.
Well, just let you know, and you probably already know this, but the restaurant tax goes under the city administration, and the motel tax, room tax, whatever you want to call it, goes under the county administration. And I don't know when the city put their restaurant tax on. Years ago, it's 1%. Most communities are 2 to 3. I think at the time, the reason they went 1% is because that was all that was allowed at the time, okay? Since then, there have been some changes in interlocal agreements and with the state and so on, and they've changed, and there were some challenges in the court, and I think they got it all worked out now through the legislatures, but of course that would be up to the city because, your locals pay it and your people traveling pay it. Now, without getting in too much detail, I've already looked at this. The county's room tax is 3%, and nobody local pays for that. Okay, and it's about $200,000 a point. So we generate about $600,000 through the room tax, and all that goes directly to the Tourist Commission, as well as the restaurant tax. Today, it goes all to the Tourist Commission. Now, I don't know how the city of E-Town restructured their ordinance, but you do have some state laws and hospitality rules, and there's a lot more to it than probably the average person thinks. But I've had a good relationship with Stacy, our new director at the tourism. Me and her's been working on some things, and I'm sure she has with the mayor. Their numbers are still strong, but there is ways to create more revenue through the room tax. And without getting into a lot of detail here, I've already met with some of the Owensboro did it with their river walk there, and there's some other ways we can create some more revenue on the room tax that will not affect any local people. And I'll get into the details of that later. I've already started it and I've already got a pretty complex way to do it. There is ways to do it. We'd have to have some agreements with the tourist and the city council, but it would be a no-brainer really. Yeah. If we get this thing done the way I want to do it, it's a no-brainer now.
You mentioned earlier, we are on the Bourbon Trail. We are the Bourbon Trail, but you mentioned the terminology agritourism. Mm-hmm. It's been around for 15, 20 years, and that last word, tourism, it is truly There are some places, that's what you would classify them as, agritourism, whether they're big pumpkin patches or, when I look at some numbers that come out, this paper called Louisville Business First, the number one tourist attraction in the Kentuckiana area that they call home is Huber's winery and farm up in Starlight, Indiana.
I've been there a time or two.
I never have, but
You never been there?
I've never been, but it's a number one attraction along, and it's definitely agritourism.
Well, it's I don't know if they've did a private and public partnership up there at all, but what I like when you get these private companies or farms or whoever and do these tours and guides, and the government's not putting up any tax money to provide that service, but they're putting up the money to help enhance the service with the number of people. Now, Cody Boone, out there on Boone's Farms, he started one a couple years ago out there. It's across the log still, and he got his pumpkin patch, and he's got all his petting zoos and his animals, and him and I have talked about that somewhat. I think I know the Board of Adjustments Planning Commission, when he started all that, he had a rough time getting it going. He's limited on his time based on, they had an agreement there, I don't know, but he can only stay open limited amounts of time. But that's just as an example, and there's several out there that could be done. That's when Jonathan Shell, our ag commissioner, like he has personally, he's got that at his place, his big farm. So there's many opportunities there, and this agritourism is something that they haven't, not to be critical of anybody, pass your limit on what you can do, but that's another piece of the tourism side that can be done, which will help your locals. And then Stacy, they're working on some other things that they're going to try to enhance, and we got a lot of good opportunities there. And when they come in and travel, that's where this room tax comes in play. And that helps us bring some money that we can use for other things to support our local community and events. So there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes that's going to be good for the community. And then equipment, I say I was talking about this weather earlier. Did you get another call?
Nope.
No text.
I'm getting ready for the news.
Back to the nuisance ordinance, we have to, that's been in place for a long time, and never has been really, I guess in the last few years, there's, the caller earlier, there's a lot of places that, and it's just, just be point blank an eyesore, and that doesn't help the community at all. When you got people traveling, want to go to farms, you go by all these places that. So, that's going to be one of my goals. We got to rewrite that nuisance ordinance. Part of the problem is the ones that don't want to work with you, and they get into the court system, and it repeats, and they come back and repeat, and come back and repeat. So, that caller earlier, there's some of these places I think I know of that actually would fall under planning and zoning versus the local code enforcement. So, Sean Moore out there, we've actually talked, trying to come up with some ways to work together, and so we're going to be working on that pretty soon too, with the planning, zoning, code enforcement, and then of course the city has their code enforcement too, and I've actually talked to her a little bit about it, so I think there's some ways we can coordinate a little bit better and get better results.
Okay.